basically the whole premise of this podcast is that everybody's schizophrenics. Throughout the entire day, you'll have what the person that you wake up as, whatever levels of motivation you have to conquer the day. You're going to stick to that diet. You're going to run that afternoon. You're going to go to the gym once you get off work. As you progress and you have all this, you wake up and drink your protein shake or whatever, eat a perfect meal. You got your water bottle because you're supposed to be drinking a gallon of water every single day. Whatever your goal. I mean, this is just one hypothetical. And then as you get through the day, you go to work. Stuff happens at work. Different things change. All of a sudden, you get home from work and you're like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to go to the gym. And then you don't go to the gym, and then you don't go run. Then your diet's shit. Your diet probably fell off around noon. And all I'm saying is, but your basic motivation levels, your basic inspiration levels, the things that you want to do, because we all have these goals where we're like, hey, I want to have like that level of income, or I want to get to that point in my life, or I want to get to that level in my profession. But you let yourself turn into somebody different all day long. And the reason you do that is because you let your voices in your head have conversations with you that change you the entire day. Circumstances throughout the day change you. And I'm not saying that this is just something that I see. This is something that I do. And I mean, I could be having a fantastic week, go out to wash the car in the truck, and these little dogs next door bark at me, and it just ruins my freaking weekend. I don't even know why. Like, damn, dude. Like, I just need to, like... I guess it doesn't ruin my weekend, but it affects me. And the other thing about it is like, people will be in certain situations where, like, dude, I really need to say something to the such and such person because I'm not happy in that work environment or whatever. And, like, when I get to work today, I'm going to say something. You know what I mean? And... it's gonna get fixed, and then when you see him, you're like, oh, hi, how you doing? And then never happens, and that just keeps getting pushed. You're as far as it's just one of those big motivation killers. It's not like you're truly a schizophrenic where you're like a totally different person at the end of the day.
No, you're just fluctuating throughout the day. I think everyone does that. There's not. For me personally, like, I'm so mellow, like, I'm kind of like slowly going. It's not like a quick up and down, but no, I've noticed it. What do you do to combat that?
The reason this topic came up is I was talking to a friend of mine, Kathy. She was talking. She was all super excited, super pumped, and she's like, "I'm gonna run 1 mile, at least 1 mile every single day, 7 days a week for the rest of this year." And listening to her, she's excited about it, and it's cool. You know what I mean? It's perfect. And I'm sorry, Kathy, if I'm using you as an example here. And I suggested to her, I was like, why don't you rein in your expectations on yourself and go, well, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to run 5 days a week. I'm going to give myself 3 cheats. So, like, if something comes up, whatever happens, I get sick, I'm not screwing myself and starting over from square one. And I think that's what happens is people will set up these high level expectations and fail once, and then all of a sudden they're like back to square one. They're not even on this climb and then just kind of flatten out and then climb. You know what I mean? They just climb and climb and climb and then let themselves down once and just drop.
Yeah.
And there's so many, and then my wife right now, she's been wanting to get mechanisms set up with other people, but she's just super, super humble, and she doesn't like to reach out to people. She's not, I don't want to say salesperson, but she's not like, hey, how you doing? You want to do this with me or anything like that? She's just not that person.
No, I'm not either.
And yeah, and a lot of people aren't that person. So I kind of just like, I explained to Kathy, I was like, hey, why don't you just do this 1 mile minimum each day, 5 times a week, and you have 3 cheats. So if you don't make that goal, that's fine. You know, it's not a big deal. You start over the next week. But now you can't talk yourself out of doing it, and that controls the schizophrenic behavior. Does that make sense?
No, it does. And then, like you're saying, you can't talk yourself out of it because there's consequences now.
Right.
Where we fluctuate a lot because we're just like, oh well, it's not that big of a deal. Oh, it's just this, it's just that. You know, I've related that to like big things, like even in my daughter's life. It's like, so people will be like, oh, it's just one small like little piece of candy or whatever, and I'm like, no, because if you let it slide once, then they want to let it slide again. And then a little thing becomes a bigger thing, and then a bigger thing becomes a bigger thing. And that's how we get to these drastic points in our lives where we're failing massively on massive scales, because it sounds stupid, but starting with one little piece of candy, and it's just like, because you made that exception there, you continuously make that exception here and here and here and here until it gets out of control. And then you're like, at this point, you're like, I need to lose, like where I was, I need to lose 50 pounds. I'm like, jeez, I've never been here before in my life. I did it through a mechanism, through no eating fast food, no sugar, working out 3 times a week. And I did it really in 3 months. I mean, it was a 6-month thing of the no sugar and everything, but the drastic weight cut was really in 3 months when we started doing the abs.
Yeah, dude, and you know, the cool thing is I use your example with a lot of people. I even following up with people, I'm like, how's everything going? And they're just super consistent on it. I even followed up with people on the 1-year club for the no drinking. Only get to drink 3 times in 2019, and Derek and I are the largely the biggest alcoholics out of the group.
Sure.
And he's like, fuck yeah, dude, let's do this shit. And I'm like thinking 5 cheats. And then I talked to Julian, and Julian's like, yeah, hell yeah, I want to do it again. And he's like, but I want 12 cheats. And I'm like, I'm thinking about that. I was like, I don't think 12 cheats is going to work for me. Maybe because I was thinking 5 for the year. I could drink 5 times through the year. And maybe it's just going to be 6. And the thing is customizable, but the thing about it is, literally, if I didn't have a mechanism in place, right now, every single time I go out with my wife, I'd fucking drink. You know what I mean? And it's not even like necessarily knock down, drag out, wind up freaking at a strip club or something. I don't really wind up at strip clubs, but you know what I mean? Just going nuts with it. It's just this conversation's completely gone. It controls my schizophrenic behavior, because I know all my intentions are fantastic at the beginning of the week, but once any circumstance gets laid in front of me, my entire personality change. Not my personality, but my inner voice completely change. Like my son's birthday was 12-year-old birthday was yesterday. Last week I didn't have any restrictions on me for sugar, so I went and ate 8 freaking Krispy Kreme donuts. It wasn't a great day, you know. I mean, I felt like crap, and I pretty much didn't do much. But yesterday he wanted Krispy Kreme donuts as well, so we went and got a bunch of Krispy Kreme donuts, and I'm just sitting in there, and it doesn't even affect me. Like everybody in my family tore the shit out of some Krispy Kreme donuts. I didn't touch one of them. Right. It doesn't matter to me anymore, because my behavior's been controlled. My mindset's been controlled.
That's how I was when we did the 6-month thing. A lot of people don't necessarily know, but me and my daughter have every Saturday is donut day. So we go out and freaking donuts. And then, because I believe in eating at the table, you know, together. So I'd sit there every Saturday for 6 months, basically. Sit there and watch her and everyone else eat donuts. I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I can't have none of this. And I was intermittent fasting for 3 months too. So I couldn't eat anything at all, and I'm just sitting there watching everyone eat. But like you said, it's that automatic discipline.
Yeah, and then I mean, if you flip that around, and let's say you don't have a mechanism, you don't have a great amount of pain that you're going to endure financially or whatever the case is. If you fail, you could sit there and talk yourself into anything, and in the moment.
Huh.
And I'd say that a lot of us do. Like, honestly, there's a lot of people that have varying levels of success. People that have, I'm sorry for the long pause, that have tons of freaking money, that have tons of motivation. Everything, it's clicking all the way around. And I was thinking about this yesterday. It takes some people will build a machine, like let's just talk like a business machine.
Okay.
Once the machine is built, the machine runs and the machine needs fuel, somebody to pull the levers and push the buttons. Once you have that machine and it's creating wealth all the way through, it becomes something that you're just passionate about and it happens. It's like you've already created a habit through a mechanism. You've already created an addiction through a mechanism. It doesn't have to be a mechanism, but if you don't have that level and that's something that you want to get to, and you want to build that machine, you want to build those interconnecting gears of now you have employees working for you that you leverage to be able to have greater outcomes than you doing it all by yourself. It's super freaking hard to have the discipline to put those pieces into place. Know what those pieces are supposed to be. Grab those pieces, create them out of nothing, learn what the fuck they're supposed to do, and implement them. And then push that far enough to the threshold. It's like the little train that could. It's like when you're trying to build a business, you're literally pushing the train up the freaking mountain. And then once you actually get the machine going, that's like you pushing it over the edge. And now all you got to do is push the buttons and pull the levers, and your machine's moving. But you got to feed it. But the thing about it is like I think a lot of people will get to that higher level and don't realize the struggle it is to create that momentum. The momentum is difficult to create. And if you're going through every single day as a schizophrenic, basically like, okay, this is what's going to get accomplished, this is what's going to happen, this is what I'm going to do, and then little things happen, and then all of a sudden it kind of diverts, and you know what I mean? It's not as effective as it needs to be. And right now, like me personally, right now, I'm working on building a team. So just for one of my companies, because I'm trying to figure out all the pieces I got to put together to create that machine to get that train over the top of the hill. And it's cool. It's a cool process. But then I start thinking about it. A lot of people struggle with getting the pieces put together because they're fighting their own self-conscious, their own thoughts the entire time. Their schizophrenia is keeping them from getting the pieces cleanly put together. Okay, this is the goal that needs to happen within the next 5 days. And goals achieved, now this is the goal that needs to happen in the next 5 days. You know, just being able to go, okay, and then all of a sudden you're just built a total machine that'll move. That all you have to do is push the buttons and pull the levers. And how do you go about controlling all those little behaviors? How do you go about making sure that you cross the little thresholds that you need to cross? If you're starting from nowhere, if you're starting from zero.
Yeah.
I am really curious how I've seen a lot of them. I've seen a lot of people do a lot of different mechanisms, and I'm really like Kathy's she's just such a cool freaking person, and really she's a cute girl. But I think once she controls her diet and her running and everything, she's going to be something. And I told her last night, I was like, and this is something that somebody else has told me, like, you're not going to recognize yourself in 6 months. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious to see her outcome. I really am. I'm really excited to see that particular one.
I don't think we've seen any massive failures.
I don't think we've seen any failures.
Yeah.
There hasn't been any failures.
No.
I set one up to cold call for 15 hours a week, and I couldn't get my system completely going. I had issues with my system. I started it 1 week early, so I used a cheat. Boom. Second week, I called 15 hours, no problem. Third week, I'm like, F this shit. I'm going to figure out how to have people cold calling for me. And I got 2 people. I'm setting up 2 people today, and it was actually really a lot easier than I thought. And I'm stoked because I got female voices cold calling for me, and it'll be interesting. And this is just the start. This is just the start. It costs a little bit of money to have each line running, but it all costs money.
Yeah, everything does.
And I'm excited because I mean even these individual people can make a lot of freaking money just putting me in front of somebody, and that's the goal. And that's what Pace was telling me. He's like, dude, you need to stop wasting your time on all that shit. So like in the back of my head, I'm all fighting myself because I think I need to be cold calling. Mm-hmm. Pace is telling me that you don't need to be cold calling. Don't fucking cold call. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your value, basically. So I'm hoping to get a machine going like he has here pretty quick. That'd be pretty sick if I do. I break this stuff down in these podcasts just because I want people to understand that it's not like a magic behind the curtain thing where like all of a sudden you're just a certain type of person and you can achieve certain levels of success, or you can have that certain levels of drive because of that person you are. It's not. It's what's the next step? Learn the next step. Implement the step. You know, that's all it is, over and over and over again until you've built something strong. And it was the whole people are schizophrenic thing came up because I realized this the entire day through, every single day, and then I watch other people and what their outcomes are. Like one of the ones that's huge is like if you go hang out, and I've said this before, when you go and hang out with somebody like at a barbecue or a birthday party or something like that, everybody's sitting around drinking, and it's fucking it's funny, but it's almost pathetic because there's like these big delusions of grandeur, like, oh, I'm gonna get a food truck, or I'm gonna start this business, or I'm gonna do this over here, or I'm gonna find this, and I'm gonna make this happen over here, and then the next week, well, what happened to that? It's gone, completely gone. Motivation's gone, and it's gone with the alcohol. And I suggest that, like, even if you don't have the alcohol in the equation, which I don't, so I don't drink, mm-hmm. because I got sick of listening to myself make these freaking promises. That's just one part of it. That's one part of that thing. Alcohol just has so many toxic levels to it. But I just got sick of hearing myself bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, but you're like sitting there all nostalgic and it's real to you. You're like, oh man, dude, I'm gonna freaking do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And then when the day comes to actually start putting something into action, you can do nothing until the next time you drink, and then you start talking about what you're gonna do again. And that's just another level of schizophrenia right there. I don't know, man. It's a frustrating thing. Us having to combat ourselves on a constant basis is a frustrating thing, and I think for all of us, it's a frustrating thing. And I think no matter what level of success you've achieved, what level of machine that you have, what level of anything that you have going on in your life, there is elements in there that you're falling short of your own expectations. Regardless, I mean, man, I don't even know what.
I mean, we've said it tons of times that, I mean, there's plenty of people with tons of money, but they're out of shape. They're not happy here. They're not happy there. Like, there's going to be somewhere in your life that you're not completely content. You're not completely happy, no matter how, like you said, no matter how big your machine is. There's going to be areas where you want to improve, but you're going through that. And I'd argue once you've built that machine, it might even be even harder for those certain areas, because you're like, oh, I'm doing so good here. You can talk yourself out of these other little areas.
Like the spinning plates thing. You ever heard that analogy? Where you're spinning all these plates? Mm-hmm. And what you don't realize is your job and all these other things, the financial aspect ones, all those plates are made out of rubber, but the one that's your family, the plate that you're spinning that your family's made out of glass. It's the only one that'll break. You know what I mean? Like all the rest of them will just bounce and put them back in place. It's you could make whatever plate, your glass plate, whatever plate, your rubber plates. But the thing about it is like I think one of the things was like constructive outcomes as well, like constructive outcomes in business, where you have a massive level of frustration with a certain person at your office or whatever, and you just maintain that frustration and you never fix it. Because every time I'm going to say this, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say this, and once the opportunity comes, you say nothing. Week over week, month over month, year over year. Throwing all these things out there, I think largely because I've talked to people and I'm like, hey, so what is it that you have wanted to accomplish? What have you been thinking about wanting to do for the last week, month, or year? And like at the face of that question, right when I ask somebody that question, everybody's clueless, because I think what happens is they don't think of anything. I think what happens is it's almost like a self-protective method that people have, where they just don't want anything that they failed at or that they wish they could accomplish, but they're not doing anything about. They don't want that at the surface. They want to pretend that freaking really doesn't exist. And when I bring up the topic, okay, everybody's schizophrenic, so now I'm trying to bring to the surface little nuances of things that you're just not realizing that you want to remedy, that you want to fix. And if you don't fix it, it's just going to keep eating at you, little by little by little by little by little. And obviously the solution, there's so, and I was, the mechanism is something that it's a method. Of course there's 1,000 other methods. Of course there's a million other methods to control your behavior, control your insight, control your actions. But this is just one. Anyways.
Have you ever heard of the biggest day in fast food? It's always at the beginning of the year. It's like around, I don't know the exact date, I'll have to look it up, but it's like February 20th or something like that.
When everybody fails their New Year's resolutions.
Everyone right around that time fails their New Year's resolution. And that's actually, honestly, when I've asked people, like, what do you want to do? Primarily, it's usually something small like that. Just like, I want to lose 20 pounds. That's one of the easiest ones to do. But they've failed at it so many times.
It seems impossible.
And fast food restaurants put that date out, that this is the biggest day in because they know you're going to fail. Like, it's not even a question. This happens every single year. This is our biggest freaking day or our biggest week. It's pretty close to this time. This is a huge peak for them because everyone fails right there.
That's interesting.
They know that. Like, the fact that fast food restaurants know this date is crazy. Like, they have empirical data building up to that point that people will fail within a month and a half of their New Year's resolution.
That's crazy.
It is.
That's
crazy.
real too. It's real. I mean, 1 Year Club wasn't a New Year's resolution.
No.
No sugar, no fast food wasn't a New Year's resolution.
We didn't want them to be.
Yeah, and the thing about it is it's fucking easy.
It is.
Like, if I had a New Year's resolution, I'd be sitting there freaking chewing on my fingernails, trying my best not to fail.
Because there's nothing stopping you except your own thoughts.
Exactly.
You set a New Year's resolution and you're just like I said, you make that one little exception. And then by February 20th, you're full blown, I'm going to fast food 3 times today.
And let's take And the funny thing is like I've just done this with the 15 hours of cold calls where I have $500 on the line, and literally what I wound up doing, and this is kind of an interesting thing how you structure a mechanism. I knew that I needed to have people cold calling for me. I knew that I needed to cold call as well because I need the experience. I didn't really think that I needed 1,000 hours of cold calling, but get the system set up the first week, which I didn't have the system set up. And the second week I'm actually cold calling. I got scripts together, I got voicemail, I got everything set up in the whole thing. Didn't have any of that shit cohesive. Now I'm gonna have people that are gonna make that 15 hours for me. So like I literally did I literally took a mechanism saying that I need to have 15 hours of cold calls going out every single week. And I took that from me being a solo person trying to do cold calling to now I'm implementing a team cold calling for me. And I'm not outsourcing VAs. I'm actually having people that need the job, need the income, and are happy to do it. You know, and I'll keep going with it. This is just as it just starts. And maybe I have, I don't know, 200, 300 hours of cold calling going out within the next couple months. You can use a mechanism to control yourself in any direction, push yourself into force your actions into something bigger. That's just kind of what I'm alluding to is instead of sitting here and fighting, okay, I need to cold call. And the thing about it is like I have people working for me. Now I have requirements on them. They have to do this or I'm just going to pull them and put somebody else in their place. And that was one of the things that I learned a long time ago in the construction industry is people will get a lot more done for you than you're going to get done for yourself. That's just the whole system of delegation. And people are happy to make you proud of them. But that's really interesting, dude, on the fast food thing because it's real. It's real because unless you have a burning passion for something, and everybody in the motivational world, Robert Herjavec, Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, unless you got a burning passion for something, you're not going to automatically make it happen. So what do? If you don't have a burning passion for something, it just doesn't get done. You don't do anything. You know what I mean? But but there's a way. There's a way to make sure that you get something done. Then maybe it's not even a burning passion of yours yet because you're afraid of what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know, and maybe it's one of those things where you go, okay, well, I'm gonna put a mechanism in place for $500 that says I have to have 3 business ideas by the end of the month. Then at the end of the month, okay, I got 3 business ideas. Then you got one more month to figure out which one of those is the most relevant. Which one is the one that you want to do and could potentially make you better money. You know what I mean?
I mean, I argue, even if you do have a burning passion for something, you still make excuses and stuff. I mean, I took 9 years off.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Jiu-jitsu, dude.
Yeah.
Like, anyone who knows me, anyone. But you're here, so I'll just ask you. But like, fighting jiu-jitsu, like, that's one of like my biggest topics that I talk about. Like I relate so much in my life to that.
Yeah, fight nights are the only nights that I see you get all pumped up and all crazy and have a lot to say about a lot of things. Like, wow.
That's like my burning passion, other than family, seeing my daughter succeed. Yeah.
And then even on that line, you don't need necessarily a mechanism to control whether or not you follow or create your passion. You don't need it to do, like right now. When I started the no sugar, no processed fast food, and the previous mechanism had be in the gym 3 times a week, I didn't even need that now. Because I cannot go without being in the gym. I have to go to the gym now. Like it's just part of, I won't. And the thing is I've achieved such great results since the beginning of this year that I want to keep them going as well. So it's just like, another layer, another layer, another layer, another layer. Mechanisms are fantastic for getting into shape.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that's like one of the easiest ones to do. Like, you want to quit smoking, you want to quit drinking, mechanisms. There's just no two ways around it. Like, I've never seen anything more potent than this method in those areas, ever. I've tried all kinds of things. I mean, I'm not old, but I'm 43. I've tried a lot of things, failed at a lot of things.
And they're super measurable.
Yes.
Anything that is super measurable, that you can see definitive results, mechanisms are great for. We've ran into a few where they get a little bit more complicated, where we need to put different aspects into them, but we work that out with counterparts and stuff like that.
Right.
But when they're super definitive, like, I'm just not going to drink, boom, that's super easy, super measurable. You know if you're being honest or not. It works.
And then when you have those heavy ones, so like say you know that you're going to try to get away with stuff or whatever, like you're not going to go to the gym, or you're not going to restrict your diet a certain way. What you do is you need to get like more, so like you're more of a distant counterpart to me. Like I'm just directly accountable to you because of my level of honesty with you. Mm-hmm. But if you have that distant counterpart, but you know you could sit back over here and eat a bunch of Twinkies and cupcakes and he's not going to know, and you're just going to lie to yourself about the fact and just move on with your life and just continue to become more of a piece of shit than you already were to begin with, that's not going to work. Yeah. You're going to need more frontline counterparts. Mm-hmm. And maybe what it is like you have your kids, or you have people that are directly around you on a day-to-day basis as your counterparts, or they're communicating with the person that actually is your counterpart. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you can bolster this super, super heavy. Like I think people will look at a mechanism and like, yeah, well, what if you want to fucking cheat? What if you want? Well, then don't do it. Yeah. Just you're stuck. If you're honestly, if you're not an honest person to begin with, if you're not honest with yourself and you're not honest with the people that you care about, you got a whole nother set of issues. Yeah. You know, and just because you drink heavily or smoke every single day doesn't make you a dishonest person. And just because you have bad eating habits, or you don't have enough discipline to continue going to the gym and getting fit and learning new methods to, whatever it is you're doing. I'm just using these examples. There's so many things that you could even apply this to. Business world, finding new levels of income, finding a new career. So many things you could apply to. We just start with the simple ones. Sure. If you're lying to yourself about everything, you know what I mean? You probably just need to seek some counseling or something like that. But if you're honest and you really truly want results and you're just frustrated with yourself, this is like the way to freaking do it. It's so powerful. It's so.
We were doing the shutdown at ASU. That I was talking to Raleigh that day because I had some time to sit down with him. I wasn't even really supposed to be there, but I went out and got Taco Bell for all the guys in the morning, And I shot you a text. I was like, "Hey, dude, I'm eating fast food today. All these guys are eating. I'm getting, And
later, free cheats for that. Yeah.
And later on, I was talking to Raleigh about the mechanisms, and that's the first question that everyone always asks is, how do you know that you're being honest, or they're being honest, or whatever? And I was like, simply busted out my phone. I was like, what? Right. So that distant counterpart can work for certain people. Like, it works for me because we have that honesty. We know neither one of us are cheating, and let alone with that honesty, we're getting results too. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at you. You got massive over the last, maybe you don't think you're massive, but you've put on a lot of muscle. I've lost a lot of weight. We've achieved our goals. Yeah. And it's visible. So there's, whether you're lying to that person or not, the results at the end are going to be known.
And that's the thing too, because like if you're doing like a habit change, those ones are a little more difficult. Mm-hmm. if you're doing like an outcome, like you have to have a result, super easy.
Yeah.
Super easy. So if you're just one of those people, like maybe even stepping into, honestly, direct message me, do anything. I will walk you through how to put these together. Doesn't cost you anything. There's no money. I think it's important that everybody understands the purpose of this podcast, the purpose of the mechanism, the purpose of the entire us putting this out there so heavily is to help you achieve things in your life that you wouldn't normally achieve. Has nothing to do with anything else. It's really, if this was just something about making money to me, I don't know that I would have the same level of enthusiasm about it. And the crazy thing is once you have the experience of a mechanism in your life, like something that you've made happen, and it just like, holy shit, this was so much easier. I can't not, like, I have to like try to not explain it to people. Like I say like a lot. Anyways, I have to tone it back when I'm explaining, because there's so much to say. There's so much in there, that so much levels that you could reach. And honestly, like it's just, you get momentum going, and you don't need a mechanism anymore. And you're like, you've created the machine. And I'm not necessarily saying created a machine of a massive company that's just making tons and tons of money. I'm talking, I now have to go to the gym. That's a machine. I just have to go, like, for my own mindset, my own well-being.